All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into something a little different, something a little closer to home. You know those local legends that kind of creep into your thoughts even when you try to brush them off?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think everyone's got one from their hometown.
Exactly. Well, today we're going down Elmwood Street to an abandoned house that's been the source of, well, whispers, literally.
Whispers. Oh, yeah, I've heard about this one.
Right. It's one of those stories that's been passed around so much, it's hard to know where the truth ends and the legend begins. But that's what we're here for, right? To unpack it all and see what we can find.
Yeah, it definitely sounds intriguing.
So this house, I mean, just picturing it gives me chills. You know the type, right?
Yeah.
Dilapidated windows, boarded up or completely shattered. Paint peeling like it's trying to escape the wood underneath.
Like something underneath is rejecting it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the whole whisper thing. Everyone in town seems to have a story about hearing these faint voices coming from inside the house. Some say it's the wind whistling through the cracks. Others say it's something else, something way more unsettling.
It's funny how an old house can become like a focal point for all these anxieties and fears, right? Like it's a mirror reflecting back what we're most afraid of.
100%. And then there's Sarah. Have you come across her story in your research?
Oh, yeah. Sarah's story is central to the whole Elmwood Street legend. It's what really put the house on the map, so to speak.
Right. For those I haven't heard, Sarah was new in town, loved a good dare, wasn't exactly buying into all the spooky whispers about the house, at least not at first.
Yeah, that classic skeptic turned believer trope, which is probably why the story is so effective.
Totally. So the dare was simple: spend 5 minutes alone inside the abandoned house. I mean, come on, who hasn't heard that dare before, right?
Right. Though I have to say, 5 minutes in that house feels a lot longer than 5 minutes anywhere else.
No kidding. So Sarah accepts the dare, I guess to prove a point, or maybe just for the thrill of it. But when she's inside, things get real creepy real fast.
Oh, yeah. This is where the accounts start to get pretty vivid and disturbing, too.
Okay, so paint the scene for us. What was it like inside the house?
Well, every account talks about the air being thick and heavy, almost oppressive, like the house was breathing, but in like a suffocating way, not a, life-giving way.
I'm getting chills just imagining it. So Sarah's in this oppressive atmosphere all alone, and that's when the whispers start, right?
Yep. At first, they're faint, muffled, almost like they're coming from somewhere far away.
Yeah.
You could easily dismiss them as just the wind or your imagination playing tricks on you. But then...
And they get louder. Closer, don't they?
Yeah.
And more frequent.
You got it. They start to follow her as she moves through the house, like they're circling her, coming from different corners at different times.
Oh, that's terrifying. Okay, so the whispers are getting closer, louder, and then what happens?
This is where things take a really creepy turn. The whispers start to become clearer, more distinct, and then they start saying her name.
No way. Really? They actually say her name out loud.
That's what everyone says. It's the detail that really pushes the story from just spooky to downright terrifying.
I can see why. It's like something out of a nightmare. You're alone in this creepy house, and suddenly these disembodied voices are calling you out by name.
It's a primal fear, right? Being hunted by something you can't see or understand, something that knows you.
Absolutely. So what does Sarah do? I mean, I'd probably be frozen in fear at this point.
According to the accounts, she tries to stay calm. She calls out, asks who's there, but there's no answer. Just more whispers, more of her name being repeated over and over.
So she's basically trapped in this house with these creepy voices and no way to escape. I mean, it's like the house itself is closing in on her.
That's the feeling you get reading these accounts, like the house itself is alive and feeding off her fear.
Okay, so the whispers are getting louder, Sarah's name is being repeated, and then things escalate even further, right?
Yeah, things get way more intense. It's like the house is reaching a crescendo of terror. The whispers turn into screams, loud, piercing screams echoing through the empty rooms.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine what that must have been like. So she's surrounded by these screams, and then what? What happens next?
Well, in most versions of the story, it's at this point that Sarah's flashlight dies, plunging her into total darkness.
Are you kidding me? It's like every single element is designed to maximize the fear. Darkness screams isolation. It's the perfect recipe for a panic attack.
Right. And as if the darkness and the screams weren't enough, most accounts also mention that Sarah feels something grab her. Cold, bony hands clasping around her wrists or ankles, pulling her down.
Oh God, no. This is just too much. Can't even imagine the terror she must have felt.
You can see why this story had become such a local legend, right? It hits on all those deep-seated fears we have. The unknown, the dark, being trapped and helpless.
So what happens to Sarah? Does she escape? Does anyone find her?
Well, that's where the story takes another turn, and this is what's kept people speculating for years. After the screams, the grabbing hands, everything goes silent.
Silent. Just like that. No more whispers, no more screams.
Nothing. Just dead silence. It's like the house suddenly went back to sleep after expending all that energy.
That's so creepy.
Right.
It's like the calm after a storm, but even creepier because you don't know what's coming next.
Exactly. It leaves you hanging. Did the danger pass? Or is it just waiting to strike again?
So what about Sarah? Do they ever find her?
That's the biggest mystery of the whole Elmwood Street legend. Her friends who dared her went looking for her when she didn't come back out of the house, but she was gone without a trace.
No way. They just never found her.
All they found was her flashlight lying on the ground outside the house as if it had been dropped or placed there. But no sign of Sarah.
So she just vanished into thin air.
Pretty much. It's like the house swallowed her whole and never spat her back out.
That's so unsettling. And so the whispers continue, right? Even though Sarah is gone.
That's the truly chilling part of this story. Some people claim the whispers stopped after Sarah disappeared, but most say they still hear them to this day. Some even say they can hear Sarah's voice among the whispers like she's trapped within the walls.
Oh my God, that's horrifying. So
Yeah.
even though Sarah is gone, she's still somehow connected to the house through these whispers.
It's like she became part of the house, part of the legend.
I guess that's what makes this story so enduring, right? It's the not knowing. It's the mystery of what really happened to Sarah and the fact that the whispers haven't stopped.
Exactly. It keeps the legend alive, fuels people's imaginations, and maybe keeps them away from that house too.
I think I'll be staying far away from Elmwood Street, that's for sure. So where did this leave us? We got a creepy abandoned house, a dare gone wrong, a missing girl, and whispers that never seem to end. What do you make of it all?
Well, it's a fascinating case study in how local legends take root and grow. It's a blend of real-world elements like the abandoned house and the human element of Sarah's story, but then you layer on these supernatural elements, the whispers, the feeling of being watched or touched, and it taps into something primal in us, our fear of the unknown.
Right. And it makes you wonder, is it all just a story? Or is there something more to it, something we can't explain?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's a question that keeps people coming back to these legends, trying to find answers, trying to understand what lies beyond the veil of the everyday world.
I think that's a great place to leave it for today. The mystery of Elmwood Street remains unsolved. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it's not about finding all the answers, but about embracing the unknown and the chills it